Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today I am right here to, give X-Men What the Heck or X-Men Hans. Alright, so I'm going to basically go through all of the X-Men movies there's been so far except for the Wolverine, but I'll do a brief Wolverine thing. In the Wolverine, basically, there's the guy, let's put quotations, the Silver Samurai. And he said he gathered all the antimantium, right? So if that's true, and remember in X-Men 2, there was a big boiling pool of antimantium. So let's just say if there actually was, if the wave actually crushed and destroyed that test place, that means that lots of antimantium would have been all over the whole entire river, pond, whatever, lake. So I guess he had to absorb all that, and that's how he got the antimantium there. If not, then maybe he had divers or something to go in there and get it. I'm not sure. But if he was able to get all the antimantium, that means that he actually had to go to Stryker's old base and get that too. Unless he excluded that and just basically said, even though he didn't know that Stryker dabbled with that. But of course I guess that's one good question, which I guess I'll later try to figure out. But anyways, there's lots and lots of stuff. There's lots of stuff to actually talk about. So let's go with X-Men 1. So in X-Men 1, basically Sabretooth is not talking. I mean, how could Sabretooth not talk besides thinking now? It could just be bestial. He allowed his beast side to take over once and for all. But it showed in the Wolverine Origins that he can talk perfectly. I guess the other messed up part is how come they recast Sabretooth, and technically I guess Sabretooth can be... You can say that the Sabretooth in X-Men Origins is exactly the same, Sabretooth in X-Men 1. Even though he disappeared after X-Men 1. No idea why. Wolverine has lines drawn on him in the X-23 experiment. Which, yeah, that's the same thing, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you basically had... Let's see. So you had Deathpool in the origin story, which that helps even more to actually say, yeah, it does actually compute why he has those. Okay, here's a good one. How could Mystique poison Professor X? Since in First Class, they were good friends. They were best friends and everything. I mean, even if she followed Magneto all the way, there would be never. I mean, from the First Class, it seemed like even if, like, in the last moments of First Class, she, before went to Magneto, she went to Xavier to check if he was okay, and then she went to Magneto. Which, I mean, yeah, when it comes to that, I'm like, how in the world could you actually have her poisoned without being like, oh my gosh, I'm poisoning one of my first best friends. Someone who actually accepted me for me some of the time. That's just one thing that's messed up. So let's see. Did not realize he would remake the Thought Protector helmet. Yeah, so in basically First Class, the helmet that protected his mind, that helmet was red. So to actually get another helmet, he didn't most likely scratch it, or due to overuse of it, it changed into that silver helmet. Yeah, chances are it's just... I don't know, man. I don't know on that one. Alright, let's see. Next one is Emma Frost. Is that the reason how he found Rogue? is that he's able to have contact with Emma Frost, which yet again this is from First Class. Is that since he relied himself on Emma Frost, then could that mean that he had contact with her in the movie, meaning that that's how he knows about Rogue? Or is it because of some stupid TV or news thing that said, yeah, national news is like some girl found poisoning a guy, or some guy was out of breath after kissing a guy, and then they basically say how she took his breath away, apparently, literally, or something like that. I don't know. All right, the last one is basically dealing with Cerebro. So in X-Men, the original movie X-Men, Charles and Magneto said they built the Cerebro, but in First Class, it was Hank McCoy who built Cerebro. So there's another thing. All right. So next up is X2. Mutants United, or yeah, X-Men United, I don't know. Nightcrawler's timeline matches up. What does that mean? That basically means that if the teleporter from First Class and Mystique were really the parents of Nightcrawler, then, well, here's one thing, is that it was like in 1962 it took place. So if it took place in 1962 and it was now the distant future, which that, let's say 2000, that means that Nightcrawler's like at least 38 years old, maybe even, let's see, 38, 41 years old. Well, that means that, yeah, I mean, if they actually did it like the first time, chances are when it comes to enjoying each other, it had to take more than that. Yeah, she had to have more self-esteem on that. So let's say maybe in the 70s or 80s she did it, so at least it matches up, at least. So either way, there's wiggle room, meaning that Nightcrawler can be made to actually be Mystique's son, which we'll get on to this even more later. Anyways, so Stryker's lab, is it compatible? And that's from Wolverine's origin. The fact that, well, even in the first movie, they did have a flashback of it. But the thing is that he was in a small tank compared to the Wolverine Origins, where he actually was in a big tank. The good news and bad news about that is that the good news is that you could actually just play around with it and say that since it is his mind and he's trying to put pieces back together, he would basically maybe say it was just a small tank instead of realizing it was a big tank. That could be one thing you could say, but the sad part is that, yeah. Anyways, let's continue on. Mystique, as Senator Kelly, she tried to protect Charles's home. So at least we do know that she does care. Even though I bet back then they were basically like, why exactly is she protecting Charles' home? Even though besides you can say she's doing it for the mutants. Mutant Alliance or something. Cerebro looks better but is obsolete to the original, in quotations. So basically you have Cerebro in CGI or whatever you want to call it. And in First Class, well, since it's later on, I mean, it was produced later after X2, that means that, yeah, it's kind of like the whole Star Wars thing. You have the 1 through 3 that was made in the past, and then you had 4 through 6 that was made in 2001 in the new century. So, yeah, millennia. Let's say millennia 2. So, yeah. No, adamantium bullets. Yeah, that's one thing is that, let's see. So, I counted maybe on Saturday, I counted So he shot at least five. Yeah, so he shot him like three times, and then he shot his head two times. There's at least one more bullet in there. One more bullet. So where's the bullet now? Oh, I mean, technically, yeah, there's no excuse because even in there, you had Jason Stryker, aka Mutant 43, along with. Didn't he have another name in there? No, there's no name. Yeah, so he was Mutant 143, and he was in the cryogenics, which I'll explain later too. So if he has his son now, that means that he went back to the place, which chances are, unless the police actually confiscated the pistol and now it's in their archives, he should have been able to actually get the good pistol and say, well, I have one more bullet, so just in case he does come after me, I can shoot him in the head, even though that would just give him what he wanted, was more memories lost. But, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really help him, but it's just a good idea. Maybe even in the X2 movie, he actually has the gun. He takes the gun out of his pocket. He looks at Wolverine. He looks at the gun. He puts the gun back in his pocket. Which brings up to the next question is, why would he ask if he remembered if Stryker knew for a fact that he wanted to wipe out his memory? I mean, yeah, given right now thinking about it, maybe it's because he wanted to test to see how much he remembers. But other hand, it's like, why would you even ask if you shot him in the head two times? I guess the other funny part is the fact that, no wait, that was later on. But anyways, yeah, in this movie too, you basically have the police SWAT team actually shot Wolverine exactly in the bullseye to take him down because, well, because of the antimonium bullet, he left two holes in there where people can actually shoot him in the brain and knocking him out for a few minutes or a few seconds. Yeah, a few minutes. Okay, so here's the crazy thing is that Hank McCoy got a recast. Yeah, so it turns out that in X-Men 2, in the corner, you basically have a TV on, and it had Hank McCoy explains or Hank McCoy talks about mutants and etc. Notice that that's not actually Kelsey Grammer. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, that's not Kelsey Grammer. That's someone else. I'm like, whoa, how in the world does that work? And not only that, but he's not even Beast at all. Which, given First Class, he's actually supposed to have been Beast. But, yeah, in X2, they actually have a human version of Beast. The only other thing is maybe when it says Hank explains or Hank talks, they just have the person that's interviewing him in there. That's the only other option you can think of that actually could make sense. But, yeah, I mean, so that was like some kind of, yeah. Well, anyways. I already explained about Wolverine's weak point. The fact that if you shoot him in the exact place in his head, he gets knocked out. All thanks to not First Class, this one's Wolverine Origins. Alkali Lake. Kind of see hidden emotions with Nightcrawler and Mystique, since technically that's son and mother. It seems to me that she's trying to keep it in or something. So that could explain why in X1 she's able to actually poison Professor X without showing any emotion of, oh my gosh, I can't do this, or oh my gosh, he's my best friend. Why in the world would I poison an old best friend like this? So yeah, I guess you can kind of draw from this is that maybe she's able to hide her emotions. Or don't allow her emotions to dictate what she can do or can't do. And then you have Antimantium in liquid form, which this is the adamantium I was talking about in the pool. The fact that if he said he gathered all the adamantium in the world, then that means he got all this that was in the pool. Alright, the other thing was the thing I said, this fact that it was a small tank in his memories and in the movie, because well, they showed that he clawed a wall. So that's the only thing that's messed up. If they didn't allow him to claw that wall, if they did not have that detail on there, it could be believable to say, well, okay, so he thinks he was in this one, but there's another one somewhere instead of, yeah, you know. Or you could actually say the stupid idea of, oh, maybe they remodeled after all these years. Yeah, that's another thing. Okay, where did Colossus go? That's the last part. It's the fact that you had Colossus and... Okay, yeah, Colossus, and Colossus basically took the kids and went somewhere. I would have loved it if they actually explained, maybe even in deleted scenes, or maybe in a featurette of saying where Colossus went. So it'll be like something that definitely you would buy the DVD for, is because Colossus, he went somewhere we didn't know where he went. They could make it as boring as they stayed like somewhere deep inside the mansion and they just held up there. I don't know, but I would have actually made it kind of exciting. I mean, the whole, right now, the Marvel one-shot thing, it basically makes people be like, oh, I gotta buy the Blu-ray. If they would have done this, then technically this would be like the first time ever, instead of Marvel one-shot, where you're like, don't buy VHS, buy DVD, because we have the deleted scene of where Colossus went. And then I have stuff up top, which I think is a good idea to actually talk about. Just a few things. Alright, so Colossus was shown with Wolverine. So could there actually be a team up? Especially when Colossus told him, I can help. Which, wouldn't that have been cool? The fact of a movie of Colossus and Wolverine teaming up for something. Or the fact that Colossus is actually in there, meaning... I forgot, alright. I'm not really a X-Men fan. That's actually Aunt May, so yeah. So Cyclops owes Wolverine, which I'll explain that in Origins, but in the first movie, basically Cyclops was saying how he saved Wolverine's life and he owes him one, which later on in X-Men Origins, which is kind of funny, it's the fact that since he was blindfolded, he wouldn't really know Logan at all. Not unless he actually honed in his voice and actually closed his eyes and tried to remember, oh my gosh, you were there. And that will be the funny part. And not only that, but that would make Wolverine on edge, the fact that he said, you were on that island. You were on that place. Yeah, you were clawed open my cell and you led a bunch of young mutants, into freedom. That would have tripped him up because he would actually have... That's like the technically first memories he has. Anyways, next from... side notes is that in the X-Men series from this movie, is that in the movie it was Rogue who was the newest mutant and Jubilee was already there, but in the series 1993 it was more Jubilee was the new mutant and Rogue was already there, so it was kind of like a flip up. Yeah, it's kind of weird. And I don't know why I put this here. Most likely I'll make another video, but apparently I have Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Magneto, Deathstrike, Cyclops. I think that was more like who got mind controlled, or Yeah, who was once controlled by Stryker, or was in captivity because of Stryker, or etc. etc. I think that's about it. Besides later on, which getting to X-Men 3, the fact that number one Logan told Scott to move on instead of the vice versa. And Jean is not as powerful as Professor X. Yeah, that's the funny thing. All right. So when it comes to number 3, I only have five things to talk about. All right. So, well, 6 things, because I have here on a side note that Mystique's family tried to kill her. So when it comes to X-Men Origins, that means when they tried to kill her, she actually snuck into Charles's mansion, and that's where she's been hiding ever since. Interesting. All right, the Danger Room featured the Sentinels, which, like people said, they look different than from what they look like in the Danger Room, which that was technically supposed to be a hint of Sentinels maybe already there, or Sentinels were going to be there, or the fact that higher up leaked down to Professor X telling them they're making robots that can hunt down mutants. I think you guys got to prepare yourselves for that. And that's what happened. He gave them what they look like and everything, and then yeah. Next is Raven. The fact that Mystique's real name is Raven. The fact that she has raven hair too. And I guess the good news is that the person who played Mystique all through the whole entire series is the same person, and even unmasked or turn human. Even though she can turn back, because yeah, I'll save that for the end, but I'm glad to say that they never changed Mystique. They never changed the actress. Well, except for First Class, of course. Which is funny because now Jennifer Lawrence is saying I quit acting, and alright, I'm just gonna say my 2 cents in here and now continue. I would like to say Jennifer Lawrence is finish up the Hunger Games, finish up X-Men, whatever is gonna happen. Finish those 2. As soon as you finish those 2, then you can stop acting. But for now, you have 2 engagements, and you need to finish those engagements before you can say I quit. That is just my personal view. That's all I'm just saying. Okay, number 3 is the fact of where's Sabretooth? I mean, if you're rallying all of the mutants, well, where's Sabretooth in all this? That's number 1. Number 2 is where's freaking Toad? Even though technically he got electrocuted, so yeah, he got electrocuted. So that explains where he went. And I think that's about it. You had Toad, Mystique, and Sabretooth as the, in quotations, his first group, even though we know that that's not his first team. Okay, number 4 is Juggernaut, no idea of stepbrother. Yeah, so Juggernaut was in the movie, but they don't explain why he had that helmet on, which the helmet not only protects his head, I guess, but it also protects his brother to be in his thoughts. The side note is that it's his stepbrother. He's not actually a real blood brother, it's his stepbrother. And it turns out that Juggernaut's father was fond of Xavier Moore. So I'll just skip down because this is the last thing. Well, no. The only other thing to say is that the fact that different old costume for Beast. Yeah, the fact that Beast has a costume he made, and in this one they have a different costume that's, I guess, an old design of the original. And I was about to say something I forgot. Oh well, it's not really that important. Oh, okay, I remember the cure thing. The fact that they found the mutant called the Leech and he's able to take away their powers, but it's temporarily, which explains why in the Wolverine, how come Magneto was able to use his magnetic powers again. Along with Rogue, who finds out after kissing whoever, I think technically the Bobby and Rogue relation is over because of Cat. So, yeah. I mean, Kitty. So, that's gone. So, if she does kiss someone or touch someone, she finds out, oh crap, my powers are back. Okay, so that's about it. That's all from X3. It's the fact that, oh, and the fact of he's able to push the pawn just a little bit, showing that the powers are not that gone. Even though technically I thought as soon as the movie ended is that, yes, he has his power, but it's limited. His power has been reduced instead of, oh, it's only a temporary cure. So, and of course, lots of people missed this. This is most likely the first time ever that a movie actually had an end cutscene where it's revealed that Dr. X, Professor X, was able to transfer his mind into the Vegetable Man. I guess the funnier part is the fact that I didn't really remember that the doctor who actually introduced him to the Vegetable Man, she actually said as soon as the guy spoke, he's like, Xavier? Dum dum dum. So Xavier's found a new body. They're gonna have to explain in futures past how he did that, even though lots of people are gonna say, even Aunt May's saying how he's able to bend all their minds at will and make them see what he wants them to see. And that's why. Anyways, now we go on to X-Men First Class. Even though technically, if I'm doing it in sequence, it actually should be X-Men Origins, but I got X-Men's First Class first, and plus I didn't see that movie until recently, a few months ago. Alright. So, in the first thing, it's just the fact of Xavier and his mother. It was just those two. So, his stepdad is what? I mean, trying to make something out of it. It seems like his stepdad might not be there, or the fact that his stepdad would come later. Even though, I don't know. Because then you will just basically have Xavier, his Savior, the stepdad, Juggernaut, and Mystique, and his mom. Even though technically, since they're so rich, why would they even miss a couple of food or whatever? Alright, next is, where did Azazel, Riptide Angel, and Emma Frost go? Or Emma Frost Jr.? Or is there Emma Frost Jr.? And then you also have Havoc and Banshee. So basically what I'm asking is, when it comes to X-Men 1, where did they all go? I mean, seriously, where did they all go? Let's see, 1962. The first X-Men happened in 2000. So you have 38 years, like I said, with Nightcrawler. So with 38 years, even though I'm saying maybe Emma Frost exists, and the fact that in the Wolverine, even though technically Scott was young in that one, so Scott was he was young, and not only that, I think he might have been in high school, and now in X-Men he might actually be 30. So let's say 2000 minus 16, which basically makes it 1984. So that means 22 years later, maybe some of them die. 22 to 38 years later, they die. Azazel is dead. Riptide, maybe dead. Angel, maybe dead or old. Emma Frost. Emma Frost, I kind of think, just so it helps, maybe, to explain why Rogue was found. It's just the fact that he has Emma Frost on speed dial, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing, Miss Frost? It's been a long while, hasn't it? I have some favor for you to do." And basically, he tells her he needs to find someone that has the same exact. Man, that's a creepy commercial I just saw. But he needs to find a mutant exactly who can copy his powers because he's doing something very big. And then basically she uses her powers and is like, "I found someone. She lives at ... And then basically he'll keep her in speed dial so they actually can. Yeah. That's the only thing I can explain. Even though he didn't have a cell phone. Yeah. Even though he didn't have a cell phone, which I guess technically by his magnetic stuff, he's able to use his magnetism to contact her somehow. A new ability that he formulated, I guess. But as for Havoc and Banshee, I mean, I would have loved to see Havoc and Banshee in the X3, where he actually calls in more troops. I guess you can call it that, say that. And Wolverine pre-wife days. Yeah, that's one thing that you're trying to figure out is that in 1962, they approached Wolverine, and Wolverine said, technically actually ad-libbed it. But anyways, basically he just told him to go away. So if he told him to go away, when exactly was it? So he's in a bar. Maybe he goes to the bar when he has free time away from his wife? Or is it basically since... Yeah, it doesn't make sense because even when he lost his memory and stuff, Professor X is already bald, but he can walk. Yeah, even though technically in First Class, they showed that at a young age, he lost his ability to walk. So, I don't really know on that one. I can't really actually say something on that because, yeah, that part is really the messed up part. Not unless you're gonna hold stupid thing about they get to see what he wants them to see, so he has him on the. So he basically projects himself on right there, saying, "Come on, children." Oh, and oh yeah, that's for later. Sorry, you're already going on skipping this one, but it's kind of like comparison altogether. Beast designed a jet. So yeah, Beast who designed the jet. I have no idea when it comes to the jet thing. They never really said anything in the movie about how someone made a jet or something. Even though technically it was the government who gave them that jet. It's just that Beast designed it, the jet. Okay, and one thing I have right here scribbled is the fact that Agent came up with the X-Men. Even though in X-Men 1, he said the kids came up with the name, the X-Men. So, technically, if I was able to block that, just to make it so that there's not a... I mean, there's a few hiccups here. There's a few huns in here. One thing to do with that one is that since I guess Charlie's Angels was there or is about to be there or something, basically she makes a fun thing. It's like, well, I guess Xavier, you have your angels. Yeah, they're not our men anymore. Chances are they're like your men, Xavier's men. Yeah, so he goes with Xavier's men until kids are like, nah, why not say not Xavier, X-Men. Yeah, so basically she makes the line of saying Xavier's men, and the kids basically say, let's shorten that even more and say X-Men. Instead of her saying, you guys are the X-Men. I mean, I understand they were trying to be funny and everything, but that kind of ruins things too. Okay, so lastly, it's X-Men Origins Wolverine. So yeah, Bone Claws, which that comes to play with the Wolverine. Emma Frost, aka Diamond Skin Girl. So she's a first class, even though one thing that we don't see that Emma Frost does in this Emma Frost does is the fact that she's able to do telepathy as well. We don't see that, so we can only just say Diamond Skin because Stryker would actually have said, "Ooh, this is a good mutant too." The fact that she actually does telepathy too, we need to get on that. Even though technically, I think they said she's not ready to get released yet. They gotta still study her mutation. Oh, here's another good one. So in X-Men 2, notice the fact that Stryker is fat. Stryker is like way overweight and everything. But in X-Men Origins, Stryker is like a gentleman. He's actually well kept. Not doesn't have that belly at all. So I don't know. Maybe stress after the end credits and the years after that made him fat. So yeah, he has his son in cryogenics. His son was actually like, I would say 10 maybe. Because he did say that at 10 he brought him home and it didn't help. So I guess he was 10 years old, froze him, and then he's maybe in the 30s when he got his son controlling or manipulating Professor X. Yeah, here's go. Professor X able to walk? Question mark. No X jet either. Yeah, that's just weird though. So he already had the X jet. It's like, why not use it? And he's able to walk, but I said, well, since of X-Men 3 along with the Wolverine end credits, post credits, along with this, and I mean, it's like a messed up hiccup wiring here. I mean, if you really enjoy X-Men, basically you are going to have to make up something to make it plausible for yourself. Like, he does astral projection and he allows them to see what he wants to see. And I guess this is like before he really came to terms on letting people see him in a wheelchair or something. Or just the fact that the helicopter, it sucks dropping him down in the helicopter, even though technically he could just levitate himself off and on the helicopter. Which I guess it might be one stupid thing. It's the fact that they're like, yeah, he has a wheelchair. The wheelchair and helicopter don't mix. That means that he has to have an extra person to come bring him down there. Yeah, let's just make him walk. So hopefully with Future Past, it's the next one. Hopefully they'll be able to show or have like brief mentions of explaining him why he can do that, or how he's alive, for one thing. Number two, how in the world, just all those things. I mean, yeah, that's one thing, how to clean up Xavier, because Xavier has quite a mess for himself to clean up. And lastly, it's just Scott / Cyclops and the fact that Wolverine freed him. Yeah, Wolverine freed him, and I guess technically, wasn't it Cyclops who shot Sabretooth? So technically, so that means that Cyclops and Sabretooth, that's a new thing I didn't think of. Cyclops and Sabretooth technically has a relationship because it was it was Sabretooth who kidnapped Cyclops, meaning that blast that he did, I think he should have enjoyed it more than it showed. Yeah, technically he should have enjoyed that way too much than it showed. But the thing is just with all this, it's just the fact of it came after. And one thing they could have done is watch the movies. That's what usually you do is watch the movies that you've done, then get ideas on how to not break that continuity. So, which is kind of crazy because you do have X-Men Origins Wolverine, and then after that was X-Men First Class. So if you already revealed that Emma Frost is in there, then basically you can't do it over there unless, yeah. So that's one thing, is that it's a total screw up, is that maybe you had to find a new psychic. Yeah, they should have maybe found a new psychic to put in there, since they did have a diamond skinned girl that matches Emma Frost. Or is it the fact that Emma Frost gave birth to Emma Frost Jr. along with Silver Fox? And those two, that's basically, yeah. That's the only thing I can think of. So that's it. That's basically it. That took a long time to explain, but there you go. There's all of X-Men's Hans. I might have missed some. Like, for instance, I just thought of it just now, the fact of Sabretooth and Cyclops kind of have a history together. And even though maybe it was too young for him, but he should remember anyways, is the fact that Sabretooth, even though he looks different now, he has the same characteristics as the one that he was fighting now. So, yeah, I mean, he technically should have enjoyed blasting him all the way somewhere. Yeah, that's it. That's basically it. I mean, there's nothing else to explain besides the still question of where did all the other ones go. And they should have kind of planned ahead or planned something. Or in X2, they should have had, like, in quotations or insides, is the fact of they have like the professor something something, or the analyst that's asking Hank McCoy things. Because if that wasn't Hank McCoy, then I guess it does make sense. But if it says Hank, I mean, yeah. All right, I'm done. I'm done. Enjoy, and hopefully Wolverine, not Wolverine, sorry, it's not Wolverine 2 or anything, but hopefully it would be in, hopefully in X-Men Futures Past won't be bad, along with fixing what they have on Xavier, because Xavier has quite a mess to explain. Yeah, they got like quite a few mess to explain. Hopefully if they deal with that movie delicately and have just maybe 3 minutes or 5 minutes explaining everything, and the fact that he also explained that Wolverine, we came to you when you were, I don't know, along with the fact of you did rescue a few kids along, and I basically projected myself as a standing person to them. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. All right. Thank you for listening. Peace out.